Hi guys, we're back. This is video lecture number 2. So if you've missed video lecture number 1, which talks about maps in a general overall sense, you need to go back and do that one first. This one will be talking about, this will be the first of 3 proposal lectures that will be audio and video. This one will deal with the maps of proposals specifically. All right, so let's dive kind of on in here. First of all, remember M stands for mode. So what are the defining features of a proposal when we're talking about mode, right? What does it look like? First of all of our writing in this class will follow the 3 C's. There are 4 C's and 5 C's, but the 3 C's are the most important. That's clear, concise, and coherent, prose or writing. You're also going to have some sort of illustrations in this particular proposal. Those proposal illustrations can vary from pictures to illustrations to charts to graphs to CAD. This one is a little less sophisticated than your final white paper proposal, which will be looking back at what you actually did. This one will be kind of a visualization of this is what I have in mind looking forward for this proposal, but there should be something that kind of talks about what we're doing. Engineers like to use graphs, charts, pictures, so you're going to need to visualize this in some particular way. So the next thing your proposal will have will be lots of headings. The headings help the proposal to be skimmable, to be quick, offer a roadmap of where we're going. Note that sometimes when somebody picks up a proposal for you, they want to know, first of all, how much is it going to cost, right? So how much is it going to cost? They're going to skim real quickly through your headings, find that cost, and find out if they want to continue reading. So the roadmap of the headings is very important. So the last section here, the last thing that you really want to keep in mind as far as your contents are introductory matter and objectives, explanation of your current situation, your qualifications, and then your conclusion. So let's show you what that might look like as a visual planning. If you're talking about what kind of percentage of your proposal should deal with each of these sections, this will help you a little bit. This is taken from your reading in the Johnson Shea Handbook, so if you want to find that further or find some more further explanations, you can find that in your reading, which I hope you've done already. So let's look at this. The introduction obviously is kind of your shortest section. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a future lecture. The current situation, what's happening right now that we need to talk about this proposal. The project plan is obviously your largest chunk, which talks about the specifics. Nobody's going to read that unless they've already read the other parts and looked at your costs and benefits, probably. So this part will be important, and it'll explain what you're going to do, and it's usually in the middle. All right, so qualifications talks about your qualifications. You need to convince me or your project manager that you're capable and have the credentials or research to actually complete what you're proposing. And then the conclusion that we've talked about. All right, so maps. Your second section of maps is your audience. So that's the A. There are 3 audiences that you're going to be dealing with. The one that most people think about, the one that you're thinking about often, is your primary reader. Those are the ones you're writing to directly. These are the people that can veto your project and say, nope, not going to go any further. Obviously, your senior design advisor, your corporate partners, if you have any, your colleagues. In this case, me, your 42101 professor, is also a primary reader. Another reader type that you may or may not have thought about are secondary readers. Now, these are people who advise your primary readers because they have some sort of expertise. Could be government rules, it could be grammar or organization or anything that your primary reader might go and say, hey, could you help me with this because you have a better expertise than I do. In this case, I am also your secondary reader because I'm giving you advice on how to put this together and helping you make it work together. Your senior design advisor is also one of these. You might consult with engineers from the community, so they might be also a secondary reader. And obviously other students in this class whom you work with will fit in that category. Now, this one is one that a lot of students haven't thought about, and this is your tertiary reader. These are those people who might read that proposal but but they can't veto it. They don't have any direct impact on whether it continues through the pipeline, but they could have a really big impact on your career. So think about this. They could be administrators who read your work and say, hey, this is really good, or this is really bad. They could be any kind of outsiders or other students who, like in the future, you might call that student and say, hey, do you have a job at the company that you're working for? Do you remember that proposal that I did that was really good? Those people. They could also be news people like this gentleman here who have heard about your project and want to know more. They may do interviews. That happens sometimes. So they can have an indirect stake that can affect you rather largely. All right, so the third section of MAPS is P, and that's for purpose. Why are you writing? Here you have to think about what you're persuading your audience about. Yes, it is persuasive writing. A proposal is definitely a persuasive writing tool because you're needing to persuade someone of a problem or a need that you can solve. You also need to persuade them of the solution or plan that yours is the best. You also need to persuade them of that your knowledge, your qualifications, your capability of managing this project, you can do it. That's tougher when you're a student and you may or may not have the expertise that you're trying to find. So you have to think about the wording on those carefully. You're also going to talk about your costs. Yeah, you probably are going to have costs. Some of you will have more costs than others. Some of you will have a lot of costs, depending on if you're creating a widget or creating an idea. But we need to be persuaded that whatever your costs are, they are outweighed by the benefits that your proposal puts together. So in that vein, as far as your proposal and your persuasion, there's two things you need to keep in mind. Is your proposal solicited or unsolicited? Now let's delve into that a little bit more in depth. This is kind of a big deal. Once you get out of the four walls of the institution, whether it's solicited or unsolicited is a primary concern of yours. So in a solicited proposal, someone has come to you and said, I have a need. I need you to put together a proposal to fix it. So you don't have to persuade that reader that there's a need because they've already recognized it, right? The one that you're doing mostly is an unsolicited proposal. In this case, you have come up with a need. You've noticed something and said, I see that there's a need here and I can find a way to fix it. This requires a lot more persuasion, obviously, and you may even need to consider your audience as a hostile audience because they may not necessarily see the need that you do, and you have to convince them to look at your problem or the way you're looking at the world in a different way. So this part is really important when you're thinking about it, how you're going to put this together, this proposal. Okay, so let's talk about which of you are which, right? You're probably wondering that too. So a senior design, let's talk about you who are in senior design right now. So if you're in phase 2 of senior design, which is the majority of this class, I'm talking to you. Those are people who are in CPET, EET, ECET, all the E's, the METs, the IETs, people who are in senior design already and are in phase 2. Okay, you're writing an unsolicited proposal. You're convincing someone that the issue you have and the solution are worthy of what we're talking about. Your research will talk about designing, building, testing, reporting on some sort of thing. Now this could be a widget, it could be an idea, it could be an app that you're developing. It has some sort of a physicality to it or a service to it. So you are able to show something. Okay, now let's go down here a little bit. Now, the rest of you, so if you're wondering, oh my God, that's not me, I'm not making a widget, you are probably in either phase 1. Okay, so you're in the first semester of the same people, EECD and so on, MAT, IET people, who are not enrolled currently in senior design, but will probably be enrolled in that next semester. I'm also talking to you who are English majors. I know there's a few of you out there, and maybe there's a few of you who are in another discipline other than engineering of some kind. I'm talking to you. You are the people doing secondary research projects. You're also writing an unsolicited proposal. Your proposal is not to create a thing or idea or widget. but instead your plans for researching on a technical topic in books, trade journals, and secondary sources that are already out there. It's people that have already done this research. This project plan is a plan for study. You are proposing that you will go out and study something, writing, rather than physically building a project or an object. Okay. So to kind of wrap this up, I need to talk to you about two really important things that are important for you to think about in this class. One of them is time management. Obviously, this is an online course, and you're senior design people. We have to talk about the fact that I'm not going to be hanging over your shoulders. I'm not going to be sending you emails if you miss an assignment. If you don't turn in the proposal, I'm not going to call you up and say, hey, where's your proposal? I'm assuming that you are seniors. You are not seniors. You're getting close to the end of your thing. You're taking a senior level course, and you're capable of looking at the course schedule and knowing that, hey, I don't necessarily have anything due today or tomorrow, but I have to plan ahead. I have to make some time management. I have to chunk my time so I don't fall behind. This gets to be difficult because you're not physically in my class looking at me on a weekly basis. So you have to do this on your own. I recommend highly that you set aside some time each particular week and do it at the same time, the same amount of stuff, so that you're continuing to work through this project. Because when you get to the end, you really do not have time to catch up. This requires constant attention. Also, don't forget that the participation in this class, when you look at it, it looks like the point levels are much lower than some of the other things. You'll see something worth 2 points or 3 points or whatever. But remember that the class is weighted. Your class participation is vital to your success. If you do not do the participation in the groups, you won't pass this class no matter what you do with everything else. So keep that in mind. Let's see here. Oh, I know you'll ask about this. What is the length of this project? This particular project will range from 3 to 4 pages to 10 to 12 pages. It really depends on the variety. Is it solicited, unsolicited, research, not research? Do you have graphics? If you are currently enrolled in senior design, you may revise that proposal that you've already turned into your engineering professor, but it can't be any longer than 10 pages, and it has to be written for a wider audience than just that engineering professor, so you have to think about it as written to an educated person outside of your field. That would be me primarily. Okay, so this concludes the first of your 3 proposal project video lectures. I will see you soon in that live meeting that you're going to set up with me, and we'll talk further.